I agree with William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy that this Star Trek, the original series episode, is the best. When it comes to Star Trek, the original series, debates about the best episode can feel endless. Some argue for the time-looping brilliance of the city on the edge of forever, others love the cerebral layers of Balance of Terror, and a few even go to bat for the campy fun of The Trouble with Tribbles. But for William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, arguably the two figures most integral to Trek's legacy, the choice was crystal clear. Both men, in interviews years apart, singled out one particular episode as the crown jewel of TOS, The Devil in the Dark. After revisiting the episode through the lens of their insights and analyzing it within the wider Trek ethos, I have to say I agree with them completely. The Devil in the Dark isn't just one of the best episodes of the original series. It's the perfect encapsulation of everything Star Trek stands for. A plot that flips expectations. At first glance, The Devil in the Dark feels like a sci-fi monster hunt. The Enterprise crew is dispatched to the mining colony on Janus 6, where workers are being killed by what they describe as a creature that tunnels through solid rock. Mysterious burn marks are left on the corpses, entire systems are being sabotaged, and fear grips the miners. Enter Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, expecting to do what Starfleet captains in most sci-fi shows might: eliminate the threat. The episode sets the audience up for a traditional us versus them scenario. But what follows is a deep, emotional unraveling of that very premise. The so-called monster turns out to be the Horta, a silicon-based lifeform protecting her eggs, dozens of which have been callously destroyed by the miners, who didn't realize they were even living creatures. What's more, the Horta is intelligent, capable of communication, and terrified for her species' survival. The real monster is misunderstanding. What makes The Devil in the Dark so powerful is how it reframes our entire notion of alien life. This wasn't just an episode about strange biology, it was about empathy, communication, and the inherent value of life, no matter how unfamiliar it may appear. Shatner himself said in interviews that this episode had the best message and made the strongest case for Star Trek's core ideals. It's not just a space mystery or an alien horror tale. It's a reminder that fear stems from ignorance, and that understanding one another is the path forward. In 1986, Nimoy echoed similar sentiments in his memoir I Am Not Spock, calling The Devil in the Dark one of the most deeply moving stories in the series. It gave Spock a chance to be both the scientist and the soul, using his Vulcan mind meld to understand the Horta's pain and desperation. And therein lies the genius of the episode. The so-called villain becomes a victim, and the supposed heroes realize that their instinct to destroy might have doomed an entire species. A showcase for the trio dynamic. Another reason this episode stands out is because it perfectly utilizes the holy trinity of Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. Each one gets to shine in a way that reflects their unique contribution to the series' philosophical balance. Kirk begins in action hero mode, ready to blast the monster, but when the facts change, so does he. He embodies Star Trek's most underrated principle, the willingness to adapt, even when it's hard. Kirk doesn't let ego or fear drive his choices. He listens to Spock. He trusts McCoy. And when the truth about the Horta is revealed, he becomes her defender. Spock is at his best here, not just the logical problem solver, but the bridge between two species. His mind melded with the Horta pain. Pain is one of the most haunting and powerful moments in TOS history. For all his stoicism, Spock shows raw empathy. It's perhaps the most emotionally resonant Vulcan moment in the franchise. McCoy delivers one of his finest moments too, grumbling all the way, "I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer," but he rises to the challenge, using his knowledge and improvisational genius to heal a lifeform completely alien to anything he's encountered. His compassion is action-based, messy, and human, but no less critical. This trio, mind, heart, and will, demonstrates the balance Gene Roddenberry wanted for humanity's future. And The Devil in the Dark is one of the best illustrations of that harmony in action. Breaking sci-fi tropes ahead of its time, in a genre and a time period where aliens were often depicted as evil invaders or mindless beasts, The Devil in the Dark subverted every expectation. It refused to treat the unknown as something to be destroyed. Instead, it made the case that difference isn't dangerous, miscommunication is. Consider this: the miners weren't bad people. They were scared. They didn't recognize the Horta's eggs as alive. Their response, fight back, was an instinctive survival mechanism. But the moment Kirk and Spock learned the truth, they didn't double down or rationalize the killings. They adapted. They changed course. This might sound simple today, but in 1967, this was groundbreaking. During an era marked by war, racism, and fear of the other, Star Trek aired a story that said, "The alien is not your enemy. Your ignorance is." A message that's still urgently relevant. Nearly 60 years later, the message of the devil in the dark hits just as hard. In our modern world, divisions, political, cultural, technological, feel sharper than ever. We are surrounded by others we don't understand, and it's easy to retreat into fear. But this episode challenges us to do the harder thing, to listen, to learn, and to open ourselves up to perspectives that might seem foreign at first. It tells us that behind every conflict, there might be a story we've missed, a motive we misunderstood, a life we didn't see. In other words, The Devil in the Dark isn't just a Star Trek episode. It's a moral compass. Behind the scenes, a testament to collaboration, what makes the episode even more impressive is how much of its success was forged behind the camera, too. Writer Gene L. Kuhn crafted a tight, suspenseful script that balanced science fiction with genuine emotional heft. Director Joseph Pevney brought suspense and pathos to a creature that, frankly, looked like a shaggy carpet with googly eyes. But even the limitations of the Horta's costume couldn't blunt the impact of her character. That's largely thanks to Shatner and Nimoy treating her seriously. Nimoy's mind meld scene could have been campy or ridiculous, but his commitment sells it. He makes you feel the Horta's pain. Shatner, in one of his most restrained performances, conveys Kirk's transformation with understated brilliance. It's no surprise this episode became a personal favorite for both actors. It gave them a story that wasn't just entertaining, it was meaningful. A blueprint for modern Trek. It's not an accident that modern Star Trek shows continue to return to the themes introduced in The Devil in the Dark. Episodes of Star Trek, Discovery, Strange New Worlds, and Picard frequently echo its lessons: aliens misunderstood, motives misjudged, empathy triumphing over destruction. Even Lower Decks, the animated comedy, references the Horta in affectionate, lore-deepening ways. And the idea of silicon-based lifeforms pops up in Star Trek Prodigy, suggesting that the impact of this one episode continues to shape the evolving mythology of the franchise. The episode that defined Star Trek. When you think about what Star Trek really is, beyond the phasers, the space battles, and the technobabble, it's about hope. Hope that we can be better. Hope that understanding is possible. Hope that even across unimaginable divides, we can find common ground. The Devil in the Dark is that message minutes of television. Out.